Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Back at you in Gloves Off. I'm Paul Buitrón. I'm here with a great guest from Latinos for America First and Secure the Border, Sheena Rodriguez. How we doing, Sheena? You doing good?
I'm great. Thank you so much for inviting me on. Thank you. I'm honored.
Well, thank you for coming on. And I've been following your story and following what you're doing. And I want you all to elaborate on others out there, because it is a problem that we're facing, especially here. And me being from Laredo, it's something that we see that's not only affecting our lifestyle, it's affecting our country now, and it's something that we need to address, which is the illegal immigration problem that we're having. And you've seen it, so I want you to go ahead and talk a little bit more.
Yeah. So with Secure the Border, the vision for that was really branched off of like my very first trip down there to Laredo. And I've always kind of been familiar with immigration. I born here in Texas. I moved back around 2000, and I live up here in the DFW area. And one of the first ways actually that I got familiar with some of the travesties that occur with a porous border, or with the issues that go unaddressed with illegal immigration. I actually started as a pro-life counselor here in Irving, right? And one of the things that really kind of caught my attention was that I had so many cases of these mail order brides, right? Which is what I considered, it is modern day slavery. And that's here in the Metroplex area. And I remember, it was just so overwhelming from all over, from Iran, Iraq, not just Hispanics coming, facing this issue in this area, all over, and the abuses and, the people being unaware that this is happening here in America. And this was years ago, right? And so that's really when I really started paying real attention to it, right? And then my sister and my sister-in-law and my brother also own an immigration law firm. And so I would go in there and help with some of the testimonies, for those who are trying to get their citizenships or work visas, so on and so forth. And typing up the testimonies, I started to hear the horrific experiences of so many coming through, not just through the Gap, not just through through Mexico, but just all the bad experiences that they were having, especially these women and the children. My family is Puerto Rican, but we do actually have a lot of immigrants from all over, right? From Ecuador, Colombia, all over that are married into our family. So I've always kind of been aware and cognizant of it, but I didn't understand what it looked like until my very first trip down there in Laredo. So understanding some of the negative consequences that occur after, it kind of set the stage for Secure the Border. And the work that I did, a lot of the volunteer, with Latinos for America First, we served a lot of Border Patrol, agents all around our border. And so I got the chance to serve our brave men and women in green. And I was honored to be able to do that in many, many areas along our border. So that's kind of how I got started. And how do we fight back against this? Because we are where we are because of the failures of both parties. And both parties that are silent, complacent, benefiting in some way, shape, or form. How do we fight against that? How do we raise the awareness of how it truly impacts all of Texas, all communities, especially our minority communities, right? In the negative ways, highlighting those things and then fighting back against it on the city, county, and state level. So that's kind of in a very short thing of how Secure the Border got started.
Absolutely. And you have to see it. to start an endeavor like you have to see it, witness it, for you to understand it, for you to say, you know what, this is not right. And you're correct, it is not right. Laredo, I live in Laredo, and I lived in Dallas for a very long time in the DFW area, as we mentioned. And you had a lot of people there that were there illegally. Okay. But yet there were the workforce behind a lot of the restaurants, a lot of the building contractors. They were the ones that were actually doing a lot of the labor. And you used to see a lot of their kids were born legally here in the United States, and so on and so forth. And they were making families and were growing, and they had generations of that. And they were good folks that lived there. There has to be something for those individuals that had within our immigration laws that have actually done good, been a citizen, been here, never got in trouble, and doing that. I think who has failed us is both our U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate for so many years, and also in doing this. This is they're kicking the can down the street until the next 4 years, and then the next 2 years that somebody else is going to come in, and let's kick it down a little bit more until finally somebody said, no, we don't want it. Let's do something about it. And now we're getting what we're getting now. Mm-hmm. Laredo is a little bit different than some of the other border towns that you might see and might have witnessed. We don't see that many walking across as you do in Eagle Pass and in Del Rio and south in the valley, but you do have them. You do have them here. Okay, we can't say no. We can't ignore that fact. Most of our hotels, for a good while, were used to house the illegals, and we're also used to house the National Guard and state troopers and so on and so forth. But you said an interesting story that made you click and say we need to start this project, was when you met a border patrol here. Tell the viewers that story, because that story right there, a lot of people don't understand.
Right. And so, and I have been along the border on the banks of the river, from everywhere from the McAllen, Roma, La Jolla. I've spent a lot of concentrated time in the Del Rio sector in Eagle Pass, Kinney County, and in Del Rio, and then up through El Paso, hoping to make it to Brownsville very soon. But yeah, it was actually the trip to Laredo that I'm one of those types of people. I don't have any fancy titles behind my name or anything. I'm just a homeschooling mom. That's it. Right. But I'm one of those types of people just because we know that the media lies. We know that, the political establishment on all sides, they all play these games and everything. So I don't trust them. I'm the daughter of a Vietnam veteran. Right. I don't trust a lot that comes out, so I'm like, no, I need to go see it for myself. And when I felt God saying, you need to go, Laredo was it. And as soon as we pulled up, as we were going down, the group was going down, we hit every speed bump along the way. So we ended up showing up there. It was close to midnight. It was very dark. Got out of the car, and instantly I see this huge group, a group of men, all young men, trying to come over in the river, and they're mocking the one agent. I'm witnessing, this is my very first experience. Okay. I get out of the car and I'm witnessing this, we're witnessing this. And the agent turns around and he looks at me and he says, I need help. We're being invaded. And this was back in March of last year. So this was pretty much right after the Biden, administration had taken over. Like, it was very shortly after, I know it pretty much escalated overnight, right? But it was still very early on during the Biden administration taking office. So, and I remember we were out there till like 4 a.m. helping this one agent. And later on, there was one other agent that came for backup and then had to go again. And I remember thinking, like, how is this happening? How is this wide open? And I spent till like 4 a.m. talking to this one agent. He was so proud. He was 19 years he served, as a Border Patrol agent. He was so proud of Laredo. He was so proud of his family. He was so proud of the culture there. He loved this country, and most importantly, he loved Laredo. And he was like, he's been around, like I said, for 19 years at the time. And he's like, this is just insanity. This is crazy. And he said that the thing that impacted that I felt like that I got the biggest takeaway that I got to witness myself was the taunting. He's like, they do not fear us. They do not respect us. There was a time under the Trump administration when there was that respect because they knew that that was the law, right? Like they knew that they could do their jobs. And I think that was the most heartbreaking of all for me at that time was seeing that taunting. And I felt hopeless for him. I couldn't imagine how he felt, So that was the biggest impact. And it was actually that moment when that I was like, all right, we've got to do something. So.
No, listen, not so long ago, and I'm glad that you brought this up about you coming down and witnessing that in Laredo, because during that same time frame, not only the mayor, the council were sending letters to the government of Texas and abroad saying that Laredo had no problems until it exploded in their face right before the Delta virus came out, or whichever one of those new variants came out. And they said, but yet they were housing so many people in a local place here. I think it was Holding Institute, and they were all filled with COVID, but yet they were blaming small businesses and they wanted to shut down small businesses while they weren't looking at the reality until finally they had to come out and say, we have a problem.
Well, and it was also there at Laredo when I was speaking to a few of the different agents there, because I encountered a few, while we were there. And he was saying, yeah, like he actually ended up having to, one of the agents was saying that he had to cut his time short because he was going to one of the facilities that they were going to be processing and sending them the planes back to DFW. And I was like, wait, I'm down here in Laredo and you're sending them back home to me. And again, that's when I really started realizing like this is going to be bad. This is going to be unprecedented. A lot of these issues that we all talk about, they've always existed. They've always been around, right? Like the bailouts, the drugs, everything else, but not like this. This is different. And what's coming over is different. This is on a different scale, but they were even telling us about then at that time that some of the children, because they were all together, he said that some of the children, the doctors, they had viruses that they were testing. They had never seen them before. And since then too, it's not, and you and I both know, it's not just the COVID that we've all been locked down. So many of us have lost businesses, lives changed forever, right? The economy, everything, freedoms, everything that goes along with that. But it's not just the COVID that's been coming over. Monkeypox right now is really big in the news. Monkeypox has been coming over this entire time across that border. Dengue fever, right? Ebola. CDC's just been keeping it quiet, but it's been pouring over our border, the U.S. border, not just here in Texas. But they're so quick to close our communities, to especially even the minority communities that are hurt the most already, right? Most of us are living paycheck to paycheck in some way, shape, or form. My husband's worked 2-3 jobs for the past 17, 18 years that we've been together and married, right? We're hard workers and they hurt us the most. But yet they just let all of these things, all these horrible diseases, even far worse than COVID, coming over into our communities.
You're correct. Laredo's such a different attitude when you see them. There's people there that I think they live in some kind of bubble that don't think it's happening. They want to bring something called the Bi-International Park along the Rio Grande. They're asking for $100 million for this. Okay. And they cannot even fix their water pipes here in Laredo. Okay. But they want to make this parkway that's going to have bicycle trails going to Mexico and back and forth. And you could just go across and come back at any time and fashion. Really? And now they want to pass that into a vote. In fact, the city council's tonight holding it for tonight's meeting. I mean, these people, I don't know where they live in. I don't know what bubble they live in, what box they live in. I don't know what kumbaya kind of story that they're thinking about. But I was kind of glad that Paxton turned around and said we need a wall the other day here in Laredo, Texas, and hopefully something does happen because Laredo's a beautiful town. It's a beautiful entity, but we need help and help organizations like you all that are bringing out this to the open, people that are out there and actually speaking about this. It's the residual effects of this out invasion of illegal immigrants. It's so catchy that now they're using young kids in cars to transport illegals because they know the kids aren't going to get
Mhm.
any hard time. Understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
And they're doing
absolutely.
this left and right. I mean, people say, no, no, there's no problem. There's a huge problem.
Mhm.
It's always been here.
And a lot of them are coming from my area. A lot of them are incentivized to, and this is why it's hurting the Hispanic community the most, I would say, in my opinion, from what I see, because it's the children, the young kids like this that the social media is a very effective tool, right? To draw these kids. Don't look. I have two teenagers. Okay, my son's about to be 18. My daughter's 14. God bless them. um they don't always make the best decisions, right? Their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. They can't understand that the decisions, sorry, I need more coffee apparently, that they make today could impact the rest of their lives. And so they see, and I've seen the social media of the cartel posting, look at all this cash, look at all this money, look at this lavish lifestyle. God bless them. These kids are stupid. They don't know any better. And they're getting into a world that they do not understand the consequences and the dangers. And it's our children, right? That are the target, and not just for the smuggling, but for the drugs, the schools, the impact. And that's one of the things too, that Secure the Border that we're trying to focus on. It's not just the consequences that you guys are feeling down there in the border counties, right? We feel it up here, and this in the DFW area, in the Houston area that I just got back from. Homelessness is rampant, drugs is everywhere, gang violence. I had a meeting with a Fort Worth, the president of the Fort Worth ISD trustee over here. She wanted to meet with me because she understood. She's like, my children in my schools are dying, not just from the drugs, but there's a shift even in the gangs. It's crossed over now into MS-13 and into this new ape gang that's pouring over. The old Bloods and the Crips are going out. This is violence like they've never seen. And she understood that this was directly tied to the border. We go into the sex trafficking realm, right? Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston teeter-totter and go back and forth. Look, sex trafficking has always been an issue related directly tied to the border, going both ways. It's real. It's not a conspiracy theory, right? And COVID escalated sex trafficking even more. And now you've got this influx of just wide open, no borders. It's not even open border. There's none. It just doesn't exist. That's fueling all of this. And it's going to continue impacting our communities all throughout Texas.
You're correct about the sex trafficking. They just busted a constable, Webb County constable from Laredo because of sex trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, well, he's just a constable. No, he really wasn't doing much. He was a good guy. He was this and that. He was the Knights of Columbus. He was whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he was involved in sex trafficking, destroying young lives.
Young men and women and children. Yep.
Why? Because all for the reason because they want to come over here to a betterment of of our country. Okay, and they come with that dream that America's going to make them better, and they get wrapped up in these criminal activities. And not only is our government to blame, because I blame the U.S. senators as well as the U.S. Congress. I blame them all for the last 40 years. Okay, it's their problem that they kept on kicking this can down the street, and nobody has done anything about it. Now it's out of hand, and it's going to get worse because right now I don't see anybody trying to do anything on both sides of the spectrum. They all pander to the voter, but nobody does anything about it. it's like this thing, what happened with Uvalde. I mean, both sides showed us exactly what the danger is, and nobody's talking about the true situation. The police didn't do anything about it. And, somebody told me the other day, and I was filling up gas, and we're just talking. It just happened, and I know this gentleman. He says, the reason they're not doing anything about it is because there was a bunch of Mexican kids that got killed, and I kind of just stopped, and I kind of said, like,
And Border Patrol agent families. Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? I was like,
It's hard to
if
to
you,
it's hard not to acknowledge that, right?
you know what I'm saying? I mean, he's right. I mean, and you're like, I'm sorry to say that, but
Yeah. I mean,
racism still runs around here in Texas, and I'm sorry, but
it does, and although it's not just defined by one, as it was, back in like the 50s, it's expanded, and now we also have this reverse racism that's going on as well. Heck, I just saw a post from a left-leaning news source that had their headline was, white Mexicans, white Hispanics are also to blame for, and I'm like, do you see this? Right? Like, I blend in with the wall, okay? But now, like even they're trying to expand into, and especially in the Hispanic culture, there's always been this clash, right? Like, we have to acknowledge all types of racism everywhere that it exists, and that's the other reason why I feel like the border. That's another reason why both parties have failed for so long, because, and this is one of the things, like with us, secure the border, one of the priorities that we have, right, is to actually fight for, if you're going to incentivize true migrants, right, because a migrant is someone, and we all know them, they come over here to work, they work for a few months, and then they go back home, right, and then they go back and forth and back and forth. That's part of, like, that's the normal migration. Those are migrants. Those are legal working migrants that come. And then we have those that are here. They're legal residents. They work. They are a part of our communities. They pay taxes. They are involved, right? Maybe they're working towards their citizenship, right? And we need to address some of the issues that makes that so difficult, right? That it takes 10, 20 years and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, to be able to do. Like, these are all conversations that we need to have. But at the very core, one of the things that is incentivizing this for both parties is the cheap labor. Now, if you support that, right, as a Republican or a Democrat, and you don't see the racism that exists with that, you're saying that this illegal alien that you're incentivizing to come should be getting pennies on the dollar of any other American citizen, and you're okay with that? We I'm a female, right? We talk about breaking the glass ceiling. One of the biggest things is equal pay for women and that's a whole other different conversation, right? So am I then, if I am fresh coming over the river and I'm an illegal alien and I'm a female, do I not deserve the same amount of pay as Sheena Rodriguez living in DFW? Or is it just because I'm an illegal alien that's okay, you deserve less, and we're not going to say anything, and we don't care if you have to sell your body into sex trafficking to pay your bills, or your son is having to become a mule to pay the bills to get by in the DFW area? That's okay. We're okay with that. We're going to that is a form of racism. It is modern day slavery. I just came over and went to Liberty County. Have you heard of this area over there in Liberty County? There's massive colonials over there, okay? They've existed for years. And this area is, you look at the population, and it says 800, but you go there and it's more like 100,000, growing at a rapid pace, okay? There is, and this is about Liberty County, this area, Plum Grove area, right? These colonials, this is massive amounts of drug trafficking, sex trafficking, same thing like what you guys deal with over there in Laredo with the stash houses, right? Oh, northeast of Houston, an hour northeast of Houston. This area has been a GOP held area in many of the county and state level representatives, and even the congressional levels. There's no way that they don't know that this is happening. Okay, it's like a tote the note type of shacks that are built right here in Texas that you would see other types of colonials, in other countries transported right here in Texas. Who do you think's benefiting from that? Because it's not them. These illegal aliens that are pouring over, they're incentivized to come here. They're being raped and killed and murdered along the way and extorted along the way, then sold into perpetual bondage to pay this debt, and then forced to live in these third world type conditions, right? In the middle of East Texas, and both sides are aware of it, yet everyone's silent. That's racism. In my opinion, that's racism.
No, you're right. You're right. But a lot of people don't see that. A lot of people don't see what's happening. And when you're told, and when you say that, and when you, how can I say, bring it out as an opinion, you're the one that's considered the hater. And it's time now to say, you know what? I don't care what you think. We're going to tell you the way it is. And if you don't like it, fine, but somebody else is listening. And that's just the way it's going to be. Mm-hmm. So I want to thank you for what you do. Okay. You're a beacon of hope. Okay. And keep on doing what you're doing, because, you through what you're doing, your voice and what you all do, you, Ben, the whole group, Anthony, Oscar, what you guys do is bring out what people do not obscure from their mind and want to say it's not happening, but it's alive and kicking. And this is what our agents see every day. This is what our troopers see every day. This is what those men that are going up and down the rivers happening. We have a family ranch that's up in Zavala County, which is Crystal City area. They found illegals that have been dead bodies through there. Because why? Because they die on the way over. Okay. Border Patrol says, oh, this is the fourth one from the one that we found over there. They're talking about days. A lot of people, it's the men in the Border Patrol are more of a search and rescue than anything else.
And taxi cab drivers, and they, a lot of them are demoralized, and they feel like they are not being able to do their duties and and uphold their oaths that they all took. And this as well. A lot of the Border Patrol agents too also come from the military and law enforcement background. These are not people who are, they love this country. They see people as human beings. They're anything but racist. The vast majority of them are Hispanics, right?
They're Latinos. And you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. But I don't know. This is, and you tell the candidates that are going in there, and you talk to them about that, and they say, yeah, and all of a sudden they start pandering this nice paragraph to people, and people say, oh, he's going to do something about it, and they go in there, and all of a sudden they don't do anything about it. They also have to be held accountable for that.
Agreed. And to use our money, like right now with Operation Lone Star, right? I was down there in the Del Rio summit that occurred a little over a year ago. I've been out there in Austin. If I wasn't somewhere along the border or back here at home in DFW, I'm in Austin, trying to say, look, we need to get more resources to our sheriff's departments. Look, we need to get more resources to our PDs, and try to change some legislation here in the state of Texas that would help, because we're always going to be at the forefront of this battle. Logistically, we've always had to deal with it, and we always will be, right? But there's things that we can do on the city level, legislatively and policy-wise, and also in the respective city and county levels, that we could all stand. And these are issues and topics. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or whatever. No, I don't care. There are certain things of what's happening to the children, putting Texans first, are us as citizens, and especially like what you just said, the $100 million park. my mind is blown because one of the most disturbing things that I witnessed, in addition to being out there at the border, right? We went to go get some tacos, right, over there, and it was early the next morning. We hadn't slept, right? And you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. There's like this blood and plasma center, right? Like right there, kind of in the middle of Laredo. And I'm getting the tacos, and I see this line wrapped around the building of people donating their blood and their plasma. The vast majority of the people that are standing there in line are Hispanics. They're having to sell their blood and their plasma to be able to buy a meal, right? Homelessness everywhere. That is a beautiful city with a rich history and culture here in the state of Texas. And yet they find it more fitting that it would be more valuable to put $100 million into a park. Are you serious? You have people wrapped around the building to sell their plasma to eat. And yet we're going to send, and for what? That's going to end up just being a cartel run, easy. We both know that, right? So
Yes,
like, that, how is that helping Texans? There's nothing racist about wanting to put your family first. There's nothing racist about your family, and your safety and wanting to see better education for our children, wanting to see better resources, for our law enforcement that keep our community safe. There's nothing racist about wanting to have a nation with borders and people, citizens who are proud to be Americans, proud to be Texans, who understand, the rich culture and the history and the meaning behind the colors on our flag. That's not racist. You go to any other country around the world and they're going to have the same exact thing, and they won't call them racist. But putting illegal aliens first, against even when I was over there in the RGB real quick, and then I'll shut my mouth. I'm sorry, because I can go on and on. But this is what really just, I was in McAllen, right there next to Catholic Charities, right? And I went to go talk to these 3 homeless people. It was a Black woman, a Hispanic woman, and a white man. Okay. All homeless, sitting together on the park bench right outside of the Catholic Charities in the RGV area. So I go over there and I asked them, said, started having a conversation. And they went on to tell me on how they kicked them all out at 3 a.m. in the morning, threw their bags, of their possessions that they had out on the street corner because they were making room for the illegal aliens that were coming over. Now, if that doesn't paint a picture to tell your audience and your people, they don't care about you. If you're an American citizen, if you're even a legal resident, you are pushed to the back of the line every single time. And we're going to put these because we have an agenda that we're pushing forward. And at the end of it, the end game is communism, right? It's fast tracking right into communism. They don't care about us. They don't. And that's why, unless we apply the pressure, we speak up, we educate, we point things out, we're willing to call things for what they are, say the truth, and then take action. We make our voices be heard in a peaceful way, but saying we're going to hold you accountable, Democrats and Republicans alike, because this is wrong. So.
No, you're correct. You're absolutely correct. I'm glad you're saying it, because I've been saying it, and people say you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. A Latino woman is saying it. I hope people wake up, okay? Because that's enough's enough. Because we can say that, and all of a sudden they call us right wing, and then all of a sudden they'll call whatever. I mean, the problem is people live. I tell this to folks, and I say it this way: the sun comes up every morning from east to west, and it comes up for everybody in the world. It doesn't come up for you and your special feelings. Understand what I'm saying? So it's for everybody in the world here. Okay, $100 million for a bi-international park is wrong. And if people can't see the picture of what it is, you live 500 miles from Laredo, and you see the picture perfectly of what the outcome will be. Understand what I'm saying? So I think right now the state has to intervene and say enough. Enough's enough. It's like if we allowed pony leaguers to play in the major leagues, and it's not, Laredo's not coming up anymore. You know what I'm saying? In the last 8 years or so. But again, I want to thank you for what you're doing. And whenever you're in Laredo, please call.
I will. I might have to make a special trip back out there. I'll be hopefully going back out to the Del Rio sector soon. But I've been wanting to go back to Laredo for a while. It's a beautiful city, and God bless you guys, and God bless you for everything that you are doing, you know, and highlighting all of this. So thank you very much. And I sure as heck will. I'll give you a call. We'll
do it again. And if you have something new coming up of age, just give me a call and we'll put it out there and make sure people find it.
Absolutely. Okay? And if I will encourage, if I can just plug it in really quick, sure. Encourage if they want to become border advocates in their own cities and counties, and to help take action to fight against and speak truth, you know, and fight against all these issues that we talked about today, that they could just go to securetheborder.us. They can sign up for the emails. We also have a podcast out there. I just talked about Denton City Council, you know, allowing for non-citizens to run for local office, you know, things like that they're not really, you're not really going to hear. And then I also try to also follow up with action items. So securetheborder.us. And thank you so very much for everything. Thank you. Thank you.
Once more, you be safe. You all take care. And folks out there, pay attention what's going on. And every candidate that's going in there, do your research behind each and every single one. And November is going to be an election that everybody needs to go out there and vote. Period. Okay. Till next time, much peace.
Today, in America, more than 5.5 million men, women, and children train in a martial art regularly. Buitrón Academy has been serving Laredo for over 30 years now. Our adult classes are geared for producing the best in you, teaching you street-ready techniques. With the arts of Savate and Kenpo, you'll learn the traditions of these sciences of combat as passed down professor to student.
Hello, my name is Jaime Garcia. I started Savate when I was 17 or 18. I'd like to say it was because I was in search of knowledge, but truth be told, I joined Savate because I got my ass kicked in a bar. My mouth was writing checks, my ass couldn't cash cash, so I figured I should learn how to fight. I was looking through the paper, trying to find someone that I could really learn something from, and I came across Buitrón's school. Even though it was on the other side of town for me, I wanted to go someplace where I wasn't going to be wasting my time. So I came by. He was nice enough to take me on as a student, and I started learning. I went all the way up until I think it was white glove, pretty consistently. As a matter of fact, I think I even failed one glove because one year I wasn't prepared enough. I believe it was my green glove. So I had to take my green glove twice, but definitely didn't stop me from coming back because that was definitely my fault. But I kept coming back year after year, and I loved it. I had to stop when I was about 25, 26. I had to go to school, I had to go off to college, you know. But I never forgot what I learned here, and I promised myself I would always come back. I just had to get some life stuff done. So I went to school. So that definitely not only gave me the confidence to do so many other things in my life, but it also got me out of a lot of trouble that I admittedly got myself into. But definitely one of the most important things I ever learned in my life was how to fight. I finally came back, even though I live in Austin, which is a good 3.5 hours away. I still make the time to come every month to come and learn because it's one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, one of the best things I ever did. And I believe it gives a person something that the society is very much missing these days, which is a discipline and a drive to go forward, drive to keep doing what you're doing. And I believe in it so much, I'm just waiting for my kids to get old enough to hopefully start doing it themselves. And yeah, best thing I ever did in my life, and I wouldn't change it.
Come train at the best kept secret of Laredo. Give us a call for your free evaluation at 956-401-4868 or check out our website at savate.biz. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook.